The story begins in the remote mountains of Romania, where an ancient and isolated place known as the Abbey of Saint Carta stands surrounded by thick forests and endless fog. The abbey feels cut off from the modern world, heavy with silence and secrets buried deep within its stone walls. One night, the calm is shattered when a young nun rushes through the dark corridors in pure terror. Her breathing is frantic, her footsteps echo loudly as if something unseen is chasing her. Doors slam shut on their own, shadows crawl across the walls, and a horrifying presence fills the air. The nun reaches a room at the top of the abbey, desperately trying to escape whatever is hunting her. Suddenly, a terrifying figure appears, taking the form of a demonic nun with a pale face and burning yellow eyes. Realizing there is no escape, the terrified nun whispers a prayer, wraps a rope around her neck, and jumps from the window. Her body hangs lifeless as the abbey returns to silence, leaving behind an act of desperation that shocks even the Vatican. News of the suicide reaches Rome, alarming church officials. The abbey has a dark history, one tied to forbidden rituals and an ancient evil that was once believed to be sealed away forever. Fearing that the sanctity of the holy ground has been corrupted, the Vatican sends Father Thomas Burke, a priest experienced in investigating supernatural cases, along with Sister Irene, a young novice who has been struggling with disturbing visions since childhood. Their mission is simple in words but dangerous in reality: determine whether the abbey is still holy or if it has fallen completely into darkness. Father Burke carries his own burden. In the past, he failed to save a young boy during an exorcism, a memory that continues to haunt him. Sister Irene, though inexperienced, has a strong faith, but her visions of demonic figures and bleeding statues make her question whether she is blessed or cursed. Together, they travel to Romania, uncertain of. Sister Irene wanders through the abbey, calling out for Father Burke, but her voice seems to vanish into the stone walls. The corridors feel longer than before, twisting in unnatural ways, as if the building itself is shifting. Candles blow out one by one, plunging the halls into darkness. The silence is broken only by distant whispers that sound like prayers spoken backward. With every step, the sense of being watched grows stronger. She enters a chapel and sees several nuns kneeling in prayer, their heads bowed, voices low and steady. Relief washes over her, believing she is not alone. But as she steps closer, the chanting stops. The nuns slowly raise their heads, and in a horrifying instant, their faces are revealed as decayed and lifeless. They vanish into thin air, leaving the chapel empty. Sister Irene realizes these are not real nuns, but illusions created by something evil to hide the truth. Meanwhile, Father Burke regains consciousness inside a coffin buried beneath the abbey. Panic sets in as he pounds on the wood, gasping for air. Memories of his failed exorcism flood his mind, the face of the possessed boy haunting him as he struggles to breathe. Just as his strength begins to fade, the coffin lid cracks open. Frenchie, having heard Burke's screams echo through the tunnels, pulls him free moments before death. Burke, shaken but alive, explains that a powerful demonic presence attacked him. He recognizes it as the same entity responsible for the exorcism that ended in tragedy years earlier. His guilt deepens, knowing this demon has followed him here. The group realizes they are facing something far more dangerous than a restless spirit. They seek answers from the abbess, who finally reveals the horrifying truth. There are no living nuns left in the abbey. The last of them died long ago. What Sister Irene has been seeing are spiritual remnants, echoes of holy women who continued praying even after death to keep the demon trapped. The abbess herself is one. Valak steps forward from the darkness, its form fully revealed as a twisted version of a nun, dressed in black, its pale face marked by rage and mockery. The air vibrates with its presence, and the walls around them seem to breathe. Father Burke raises his crucifix and begins to recite prayers, but Valak laughs, a deep and cruel sound that echoes through the chamber. With a violent force, Burke is thrown across the room, crashing into the stone wall. Frenchie tries to fight back, firing his shotgun, but the bullets pass through Valak as if it were made of smoke. He is lifted off the ground and slammed down hard, left gasping for breath. Sister Irene stands frozen for a moment, staring into the demon's burning eyes. Valak speaks directly to her, mocking her faith and revealing that it has been watching her since childhood. The visions she thought were divine signs were also influenced by the demon, slowly shaping her path to this very moment. Valak suddenly possesses Father Burke, twisting his body unnaturally and using his voice to speak words of hatred and doubt. Seeing Burke under the demon's control breaks Irene's heart, but she refuses to give in to fear. She realizes that Valak feeds on guilt and weakness, and that her faith is the only weapon strong enough to fight it. Remembering the abbess's words, Irene searches for the relic while Valak controls Burke, forcing him to attack her. Frenchie struggles to reach Burke, trying desperately to pull him back, but is thrown aside once again. Irene finally spots the vial containing the blood of Christ, glowing faintly in the darkness. She grabs it and turns to face Valak. Enraged, the demon strikes, knocking the vial from her hands. It shatters on the stone floor, spilling the sacred blood. Valak laughs, believing victory is now certain. But Irene realizes the blood itself is still powerful, even without the vial. Dropping to her knees, she begins to pray, her voice steady despite the chaos around her. As Irene prays, as the sun rises higher, the ruins of the abbey stand silent behind them, reduced to broken stone and scattered crosses. Father Burke takes a long breath, feeling a sense of relief he has not known in years. For the first time since his failed exorcism, the weight of guilt begins to lift. Sister Irene watches the light touch the mountains, her expression calm yet distant, knowing her faith has been tested in ways few could ever understand. They part ways soon after. Father Burke returns to his duties with the church, forever changed by what he faced in Romania. Sister Irene prepares to take her final vows, no longer afraid of the visions that once troubled her. She understands now that her faith is not weakness, but strength, and that she was chosen to stand against darkness when it mattered most. Frenchie, whose real name is Maurice, tries to return to a normal life. He laughs, jokes, and tells himself that the nightmare is over. Yet something feels wrong. He experiences flashes of pain, strange dreams, and moments where his reflection does not feel like his own. Unknown to him, during the chaos inside the abbey, Valak briefly possessed his body, leaving a hidden mark on his soul. Time passes, and the incident at Saint Carta becomes a secret buried deep within the Vatican's archives. The world moves on, unaware of how close it came to being consumed by ancient evil. But darkness does not disappear. It waits. Years later, Maurice is seen again, this time in America. Photographs reveal a familiar face, now hollow and twisted by possession. The demon Valak has returned, clinging to the part of him it claimed long ago. The case draws the attention of paranormal investigators Ed and Lorraine Warren, who recognize the same demonic presence they have encountered before. The connection becomes clear. The evil that began in the abbey was never fully destroyed, only weakened and delayed. Valak survived, patient and calculating, waiting for the right moment to rise again. The